Welcome to People in Profit. I'm Yuka Royer. Your morning boost keeps getting pricier. Here in France, a recent study shows coffee prices jumped as much as 37% in August from a year earlier. Volatile weather affecting harvest, uncertainty in global trade, and rising production costs could soon make everyday treats like coffee, tea, and chocolate a luxury. But are the farmers growing them getting a fair share of the price surge? August Hackinson has more on the global coffee market and about how the Fairtrade certification system is designed to help farmers but is facing challenges.
Coffee prices are hitting record highs. Both Arabica, which makes up most of global production, and Robusta have seen soaring prices in recent years, according to Bloomberg. In December, prices hit a 52-year high. Global tea and cacao markets have also surged. Much of this is driven by unpredictable climate conditions in producing countries. Some say higher prices could help farmers. Others warn that volatility can hurt them. For many, it's therefore crucial to create systems that provide stability and support. The Fairtrade certification system started in the 1980s. For consumers, products with the label cost a little more, but the impact is big. Fairtrade helps farmers in two main ways: securing a minimum price even when global prices drop, providing a community premium, extra money that can be used for schools, better tools, etc. Fairtrade also provides education and support to improve quality, negotiate better prices, reach more buyers, and build resilience against today's volatile markets.
They have really helped us to teach us on how to care for the environment, and then the coffee bushes becomes healthy, and then we get now better quantity, good quality, and the women have got better income.
However, the cost of joining Fairtrade is a heavy burden for many, especially as they face the impacts of climate change. Out of roughly 570 million farms worldwide, Fairtrade includes just 1.9 million.
For more on the topic, let's bring in Jason Archie-Acheampong, Sustainable Sourcing Lead for Coffee and Cocoa at the Fairtrade Foundation. Thanks for joining us, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Now, first off, why has coffee got so expensive, even as overall food inflation has calmed down?
Really important question. And fundamentally, the primary driver we see is underinvestment in farmers, right? I think there are fundamental challenges that farmers are facing on the ground that have been compounded by climate change. And as a result, farmers are unable to really invest in their farms, enhance their productivity, and get the yields that are required to meet the demand at the current time.
And why aren't the producers, then the farmers, not getting paid more if prices are surging, if they are unable to invest to cope with climate change and face the challenges? Then obviously, if they get more money, then they can reinvest that to bolster their production, can't they?
Yes, so as it currently stands, cocoa and coffee farmers typically earn less than 10% of the final value of the retail price of chocolate or coffee, right? And that's really important to recognize. You know, we're in a situation where studies have shown that by 2050, nearly 50% of the global surface area used for coffee and cocoa farming will no longer be suitable. And as it currently stands, for years as Fairtrade, we've been really advocating the need for farmers to earn more. But ultimately, that's not fundamentally trickling down to farmers as it stands. So here at Fairtrade, last year, for instance, as a global system, nearly £210 million was generated in an additional premium to go back to farmers to help them invest. And it's that type of activity, that type of additional investment that we're really encouraging businesses to continually do and invest in to ensure that farmers can be supported to address these key issues. Because ultimately, we as consumers will continually want to buy chocolate, continually drink coffee, but without farmers farming the coffee and supported in doing so, we ultimately won't see coffee and chocolate, at least at the prices that we would want to, or at least struggle to be able to access these important commodities.
Now, if we go back and look at how Fairtrade started, it was obviously to help farmers facing steep declines in prices. Does Fairtrade then, you're saying that Fairtrade still matters even with rising prices?
Undoubtedly, it still matters. You know, when we see situations of high volatility and high prices, generally what we see is that there's issues in supply. So whilst demand still remains high, there's an issue in supply. So without fair trade and without important networks of support for farmers, farmers are unable to actually invest in their farms adequately. So we found with the premium, as we've implemented the premium for many years now, we see businesses being able to invest back into farmers and farmers then being able to invest back into their farms. And that ensures that the supply that is so greatly required is still there. We also then implement a whole range of programs as well. So it's not just the pricing mechanism that we have in play, but also programs. And those programs are key to enable farmers to address some of the key climate risks that they face. So, for instance, we have programs all across Latin America and also in East Africa, for instance, where farmers are able to plant more climate resilient varieties of coffee. And we see that similarly in cocoa, where we see challenges with disease. And so helping farmers address their productivity is a really key piece. So yes, there is the pricing and there's also the programs which we continually work alongside our farmers to deploy on the ground.
And yet, as we saw in that report earlier, only a very small fraction of global farmers work with the fair trade system. Why isn't that number growing?
And this is where we're working with businesses to see that number grow ultimately. For a long time now, we've been really stressing the need for businesses to really look up and understand what are some of the fundamental challenges existing on the ground and how we can work more closely with farmers. So as it currently stands within Fairtrade Network globally, we have about 2 million farmers and workers around the world that are benefiting from fair trade sale. We want to see that improve. And so we are encouraging consumers to go out and, yes, buy fair trade certified products because that goes a long way in ensuring that actually further investments can be deployed on the ground, but also encourage other farmers and support other farmers as well in being able to grow and sell fair trade certified coffee and cocoa, as well as other commodities.
For consumers, though, that fair trade label has been around for over 2 decades, and many people now recognise that, and quite a large number of people are willing to spend a bit more for ethically and sustainably sourced products. Yet your study also found that only about 10% of tea sold in the UK, for example, was fair trade certified. Why are companies, or is it the fault of companies not selling more of them, or is it where does the problem lie?
Currently as it stands in the UK alone, we have about 400 businesses, and that's around about 5,000 fair trade products that consumers can buy in the UK. So it's a good foundation, but there is definitely more to do. And so what we are doing as fair trade, as it currently stands, is also working alongside government to create an enabling environment that would level the playing field for those businesses that have made that step in the right direction to actually address, human rights issues within their supply chains. Because by doing that, a business is able to actually help make, the situation much fairer for farmers. But then by encouraging and working alongside government, that would be really important and is really important in creating that environment for other businesses to also do the same. So right as it currently stands, I think we have a good foundation of businesses, but there is more to do. And I think it's partly getting alongside partners, ensuring that there's a good regulatory environment, but then also creating a framework in which businesses can also do this. And so with our framework, we believe partnerships through programs, which I mentioned earlier on in this response, but then also through pricing, premium, which we believe is important, and then also further advocacy work that we're doing alongside with governments, with various other stakeholders across value chains as well.
But you just mentioned a key feature of the fair trade system is the so-called fair trade premium. That's an extra money that farmers get on top of rising prices. Is the money being wisely spent, though, by the farmers?
We see many farmers use the premium to invest not just back into, the cooperatives, so that's also important. So firstly, investing back into cooperatives ensures that farmers have an infrastructure. As a smallholder, you have an infrastructure of support to be able to pull on in times of challenge and in times of crisis. But then also what's really critical to understand is that cooperatives are able to independently, with their farmer membership, make a decision on how they invest that premium back into the communities. When we see nearly over £210 million of premium generated for farmers, imagine if that wasn't there. What other options do some farmers and cooperatives have to pull on? Sometimes those options are very minimal. So we believe that with that additional premium, which is actually in many cases gone to invest in, community infrastructure, also invest in enhancing productivity for farmers, so they can address specific issues that they're facing right now around climate change, and then also, what really importantly, also invest in young people. And so what we're seeing across many of our cooperatives and across the Fairtrade network is many younger people, and as we know, where there's already a challenge to encourage the younger generations to get into farming, because of the investment of that premium, many cooperatives are able to train younger generations to go into farming, train them with the skills to use technology and how they can adapt to climate change and so on. So we are seeing the premium being used for really meaningful outcomes.
Well, Jason Archie-Acheampong from the Fairtrade Foundation, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that's all for this edition of People and Profit. Thanks for watching. And remember, you can catch up with this and all our previous episodes on our website, france24.com, or listen to them on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions or comments, you can also reach out to us on social media. Until next time, goodbye.